The future of space. How SpaceX revolutionized private travel. For most of human history, going to space was a fantasy reserved for a tiny group of government-selected astronauts, a dream behind a wall of impossible cost and impossible technology. But today, that wall is crumbling, and the reason is simple. One company decided to tear up the entire rulebook. Imagine a world where seeing Earth from orbit is as normal as flying across an ocean, where traveling to space is no longer a privilege, but a possibility. This is the story of how SpaceX shattered the old model and kick-started the dawn of private space travel. For 50 years, rocket Bioengineers were single-use masterpieces, marvels of engineering that flew once and were thrown away forever. Imagine building a Boeing 777, flying it from New York to London, and dumping it into the ocean immediately afterward. That was the economy of spaceflight. Every mission cost hundreds of millions. And it made space an exclusive club for governments and elite astronauts. No company could afford it. No ordinary person could dream of it. When Elon Musk founded SpaceX in 2002, the mission sounded impossible. Make humanity a multi-planetary species. But to do that, SpaceX had to solve the biggest problem in aerospace: cost. The answer was a single word the industry believed was impossible: reusability. SpaceX attempted something the entire aerospace world laughed at: landing a 14-story rocket booster upright on a tiny drone ship in the middle of the ocean after falling from space at hypersonic speeds. The early attempts were chaotic and explosive, what SpaceX jokingly called rapid, unscheduled disassemblies. But then, in December 2015, everything changed. A Falcon 9 booster fell from the sky, fired its engine one last time, and landed perfectly on its tail. History had changed. Since then, SpaceX has landed and reused boosters hundreds of times, turning the impossible into routine. Reusing rockets didn't just make launches cheaper, it triggered an economic transformation. SpaceX slashed the cost of reaching orbit and unlocked projects that were once pure fantasy. Starlink alone, a constellation of thousands of satellites, would have been financially impossible without reusable rockets. This revolution also changed NASA's direction. Through the Commercial Crew program, SpaceX built the Crew Dragon spacecraft. In 2020, it launched NASA astronauts from American soil for the first time since the Space Shuttle retired. Dragon became the first privately owned spacecraft to carry people to orbit, and it opened the door for something even more extraordinary: regular people going to space. In 2021, the Inspiration 4 mission made history as the first all-civilian orbital mission. 4 private citizens spent 3 days orbiting Earth, higher than any human since the Hubble servicing missions. Then came the Polaris program, pushing boundaries even further. In 2024, the Polaris Dawn mission reached the highest Earth orbit since Apollo and completed the first-ever commercial spacewalk. These missions are testing the skills, hardware, and procedures needed for a future where space travel becomes common. But the real game changer is SpaceX's next vehicle, Starship, the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. Designed to be fully reusable from booster to spacecraft, the long-term goal is staggering: carry up to 100 people at a time to orbit, to the Moon, to Mars, and beyond. If Starship hits its targets, the cost of reaching space could fall from tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram to a few hundred, and eventually, possibly as low as $10. At that point, the entire space economy transforms. Orbital factories, moon bases, Mars settlements, even point-to-point travel on Earth become realistic. Starship isn't just a rocket, it's the core technology for an interplanetary future. The story of private space travel comes down to one idea: reusability. By refusing to accept the old throwaway model, SpaceX cracked the cost barrier that held humanity back for half a century. In a single decade, we moved from government-only astronauts to all civilian missions to commercial spacewalks. We are living through the moment space becomes accessible. And the next person who sees Earth from orbit might not be a government astronaut. It might be a scientist, an artist, a teacher, a tourist, or maybe even you.